Morning students, today we are going to see the first chapter of class 12, that is solid state. Let us start with some introduction. Matter exists in three different states, namely solid, liquid, gases. One state of matter can be transformed into another state by changing the conditions of temperature and pressure. As you know that at lower temperature solid is the most common state of matter. When you heat solid it will convert into liquid, and when you heat liquid it will convert into gaseous state. And as you know that when you remove heat from gas it will turn into liquid, and when you cool the liquid it will convert into solid. Now the next point we'll see general characteristics of solid. The general characteristics of solid you all learned in class 10th. Let us see. First point, the solid have definite shape, mass, volume and density. Second, the solid are denser than liquid and gases. Third point, most of the solids as you know are hard, rigid and incompressible. Fourth point, intermolecular force of attraction between the constituent particles in the solids are stronger as compared to liquid and gaseous state. Here, what is meant by constituent particle? In this chapter, we'll see many times this word, that is constituent particles. Constituent particles can be atom, ion, molecule. Let us take an example. If sodium, as you know, the symbol of sodium is Na, so it's an atom. If it is carrying some charge, suppose Na plus, that is sodium ion, that is cation. If any element carries some charge, whether it's positive charge or it's negative charge. In case of positive charge we say cation, in case of negative charge we say anion. Means ion is there. So if an element or if an atom carries some charge, it is called as ion. And NaCl, when two or more elements combine, it is called as molecule. So the constituent particles means it can be atom, it can be ion or it can be molecule. Fifth point, all pure solids have characteristics melting point, which depends on the extent of intermolecular force present in the solid state. Here characteristic melting point means what? If a compound A is having boiling point 140 degrees Celsius, means it will melt exactly at 140 degrees Celsius. So this is known as characteristic melting point. From melting point we can at least predict what kind of compound is given to us. Okay, now let's just see the next point. The particles of solid cannot change their position. As you know that solid is stationary and fixed at one position because it has strong intermolecular force of attraction. Now we'll move to classification of solid. Solids are broadly classified into two types: crystalline solid and amorphous solid. First, crystalline solid, a homogeneous solid in which the constituent particles, as I already explained, atom, ion, or molecule, are arranged in a definite repeating pattern, are called as crystalline solid. Example: diamond, NaCl, K2SO4, that is potassium sulfate. As you know, there I have shown a circles which represent A, B, then A, B. These are the two atoms A and B, and you see there is a definite repeating pattern. A, after that there will be B, then after that A, B, A, B. So it has long range definite repeating pattern. Okay. Now let us move towards the properties of crystalline solid. First point, crystalline solids have definite geometrical shape, means they will have the fixed shape. Second, they consist of large number of small crystals These tiny crystals are called as unit cell. Further, we'll see what is this unit cell means. Third, the attractive force in crystalline solid may be ionic bond, covalent bond, hydrogen bonding, or van der Waals force of attraction. As in class 11th, you know what is an ionic bond, what is an covalent bond, what is an hydrogen bonding, and what is a van der Waals force of attraction. They are having sharp melting point. As explained earlier, sharp melting point means if you consider any compound, if its melting point is suppose 160 degrees Celsius, so it will exactly melt at 160. Till 159 degree it will not melt, but at exact 160 degrees Celsius complete solid will melt. That is known as sharp melting point. Now next point is isomorphous. This may be asked for the definition in board exam. What is an isomorphous? Iso means same, morphous means form, means same form. Two or more substances having same crystal structure, means if two substances are there and they are having same crystal structure, suppose let us imagine that their crystal shape is cubic, so two powders are having same crystal structure, that's cubic. They contain constituent atoms in the same atomic ratio. See, there are given three examples. The first example is NaF. Sodium is 1, fluorine is 1, so its ratio is 1 is to 1. And MgO, Mg is 1 and O is 1, means it is also ratio is 1 is to 1. So NaF and MgO are having same crystal structure, so they are called as isomorphous of each other. Same way, second example, sodium nitrate and potassium nitrate are having same crystal structure, and you just see the atomic ratio is also same, 1 is to 1 is to 3. Sodium is 1, nitrogen 1, oxygen 3. Potassium 1, nitrogen 1, oxygen 3. Now next one, polymorphous. Poly means many, morphous means form. A single substance which crystallizes into two or more forms under different conditions is called as polymorphous, and this is also called as allotrope. As you know that carbon exists in two different form, crystalline form, that is graphite and diamond. So at lower temperature you will get graphite, and at higher temperature you will get diamond. Means it is a single substance which crystallizes into two or more forms under different conditions. What are that conditions? That can be conditions of temperature and pressure. Now next point is anisotropy. This is the definition most time asked in exam. We'll just go through the definition, then I'll explain you what it means. Anisotropy means the ability of crystalline solid to change the value of physical property when measured in different direction is called as anisotropy. Now just see here. Okay, already I have mentioned suppose we are having two constituent atoms A and B. So here it will be A, B, A, B, A. After A there will be B, then it will be A, B, A, B. After A there is B, after B there is A, after A there is B, after B there is A. If I measure in property in this direction, now in this direction you will say we will get both the atoms, that is A and B. But if I'll measure in this direction, I'm only going through atoms A. So if I change the direction, the property will change. See, in this case only B atoms. So this is an ability of crystalline solid to change the value of physical property when measured in different directions. Suppose the refractive index, if I'll measure in, suppose this is x direction, the property will be different, and when I'll measure in this direction, we'll get only A atoms, means the property will be different, so that is called as anisotropy. Okay, now we'll see the next, that is amorphous solid. Actually this is not a true solid, it is called a super cooled liquid. Just take an example of butter. Butter is soft and slippery, it is not perfectly solid, it is some kind of super cooled liquid. Okay, that is called as amorphous solid. The substance which appears like solid but do not have well developed perfectly ordered crystalline structure is called as amorphous solid. Their example is glass, rubber, plastic, butter, etc. As I said earlier, that crystalline solids have definite repeating pattern, long range definite repeating pattern. In amorphous solid, suppose if here it is A, then it is B, then again A, then we will get B, then B, B, A. So there is not a fixed pattern. It is not having definite repeating pattern. Starting we'll see there is A, B, A, B, then again it will become B, B, A, whatever it is. So it has short range definite repeating pattern. Okay. Now we'll see the properties of amorphous solid. They do not have a regular arrangement of constant particle. Already I have explained you what is not having a regular arrangement of constant particles. Second, they do not have sharp melting point. See, let us consider if the melting point is 160, or take an example of plastic. If we hit the plastic, gradually it will become soft and then it will melt. That means if it is having melting point 120 degrees Celsius, so from 100 only it will start to becoming soft and till 120 it will melt. So it has a range from 100 to 120. So they melt in the range. They are not having sharp melting point. Third point, amorphous solids are called supercooled liquid. Already I have given example of butter. Or pseudo solid. Pseudo means false. So it is not a perfectly solid, it is a pseudo solid. Physical property do not change with change in direction. Hence it is called as isotropy. Now there I have put randomly A, B, B, A, B. If you measure in any direction, you will at least get some of A atoms and some of B atoms. So this property is called as isotropy because the value of physical property will not change with change in direction. Fifth point, amorphous solid behaves like fluid and very slowly floats under gravity. Once in board exam, the question was asked, the glass of windows after some years will become thick at the bottom and thin on the top. Why so? Because glass is an example of amorphous solid. An amorphous solid is super cool liquid. When you fix a glass to the window, at home also you check it, the glass will become thick at the bottom because it's a liquid, and as you know the gravitational force pulls that liquid downwards, so downward glass will become thick and up it will become thin. Okay, now let us see the distinguish between crystalline solid. Already we have covered all these points. See, crystalline solids have definite geometrical shape, while amorphous solids do not have definite geometrical shape. Second, they are true solids. Crystalline solids are called as true solids, but amorphous solid is called as pseudo solid or supercooled liquid. Third point, they are having sharp melting point. An amorphous solid do not have sharp melting point. Fourth, they are anisotropic in nature. Already we have seen what is an anisotropy. The ability of crystalline solid to change the value of physical property when measured in different direction. And amorphous solids, they are isotropic. Fifth, they have definite heat of fusion. And amorphous solids do not have definite heat of fusion. When you break the crystalline solid, means when the cleavage of surface is done, you will get the smooth surface. But in case of amorphous solid, when you do the cleavage of surface, means if you break the amorphous solid, you will get irregular shape. Crystalline solid example are sodium chloride, that is NaCl, quartz, metal, diamond, etc. While in case of amorphous solid, example are glass, quartz glass, rubber, plastic, etc. In this chapter, we are going to give more focus on crystalline solid, that is having definite geometrical shape. See there, crystalline solids are further classified as molecular solid, ionic solid, metallic solid, and covalent solid. Now, molecular solid also is further divided into polar molecular solid, non-polar molecular solid, hydrogen bonded molecular solid. So let us see one by one in detail. What is meant by molecular solid? The crystalline solid in which constituent particles are molecules of same compound are called as molecular solid. The molecular solid are further classified into three types. First one is polar molecular solid. Now what is meant by polar molecular solid? Suppose if you take an example of H bond Cl, that is HCl. And as you know, in hydrogen and chlorine, chlorine is more electronegative. So this one bond means there are two electrons, but two electron doesn't lie in the center. Actually, chlorine is more electronegative, so it will pull this both electron towards itself. So it will create a partial negative charge, while hydrogen will create a partial positive charge. Means that two poles are been formed, so it is called as polar molecular solid. The molecular solid in which constituent particles are polar is called as polar molecular solid. Examples are HCl, SO2, that is sulfur dioxide, NH3, that is ammonia. They possess permanent dipole moment. So what is meant by this permanent dipole moment? Permanent dipole moment means in this example, who is more electronegative? Chlorine. Chlorine pulls electron from hydrogen. So this is an way to represent it. The arrow should be shown towards the atom which pulls the electron, and from where it is pulled, there you should cut that line. So it possesses a permanent dipole moment. Molecules are held together by strong dipole-dipole interaction. They are soft and having low melting point, and insulators. Insulator is bad conductor of electricity. Now we will see the next one, that is non-polar molecular solid. What is meant by non-polar molecular solid? Suppose we will take an example of Cl2, Cl bond Cl. The electron lies exactly in the center because both chlorines are there, so both are equally electronegative, so they will not pull electrons, so we cannot create here partial positive and partial negative. So that is called as non-polar molecular solid. The molecular solid in which the constituent particles are non-polar is called as non-polar molecular solid. There I have given some examples. See there, carbon dioxide, chlorine, hydrogen, methane gas, etc. They are soft, do not conduct electricity. Melting point are lower than polar molecular solid. It is obvious in polar molecular solid you see there are poles created, so they will attract each other. And in this there is no pole, so they are having low melting point. They are having low density and they are volatile. Volatile means the liquid which easily turns into vapor, like petrol is volatile. Okay. Now the third one, hydrogen bonded molecular solid. The molecular solid in which constituent particles contains hydrogen atom bonded to strong electronegative atom like fluorine, oxygen, nitrogen is called as hydrogen bonded molecular solid. What is meant by hydrogen bonding molecular solid? You just remember this: fluorine, oxygen, fluorine, oxygen, nitrogen. You just remember it as phone. FON, fluorine, oxygen, nitrogen. The two main conditions for hydrogen bonding is the hydrogen should be present and it should be attached to more electronegative atoms like fluorine, oxygen, nitrogen. Okay, further we'll see what is this hydrogen bonding means. They are generally soft, but some are hard. These solids are non-conductor of electricity. That means they will not conduct electricity. They are having low melting point. Now we'll see hydrogen bonding in ice and water. As you know that when liquid is converted into solid, you see liquid, the molecules are far apart from each other, and when you will convert into solid, the molecules will come closer, means their volume should decrease. But only the case in case of water, when you cool the liquid, means cool the water, it will expand instead of becoming contract. You can try at home. You fill a glass of water and keep into the refrigerator. You will see when it will become ice, the volume will increase. Actually all other liquids, when you convert it from liquid to solid, the volume should decrease, but in case of water, volume increases. This is called as anomalous behavior of water, that is false behavior of water. How does it takes place? Let us see. Ice has hexagonal three-dimensional crystal structure. It is due to intermolecular hydrogen bonding. The structure of liquid ice, means water which is in liquid state, and solid ice is almost identical. After melting of ice, the empty space are formed due to breaking of some bonds, and when that empty space is formed, the water will occupy all this empty space. So therefore density of water will increase. Density means mass upon volume. So density will definitely increase. In solid, empty space is more than water. Therefore density of ice is less than water. Hence ice floats on water. See, there I have shown how that hydrogen bonding takes place. Oxygen will bond with another hydrogen, and hydrogen bonding is always shown by dotted line. Okay, now you see oxygen is more electronegative, so it will try to pull that hydrogen towards itself. And you just imagine that hydrogen is little bit pulled. If it is little bit pulled, it will definitely occupy more space. So ice, when you keep water into refrigerator, the volume will increase when it will convert into ice. You can try it at home. Okay, next one is ionic solid. As you know, what is an ionic bond? Ionic bond is formed between two elements. One of the element will donate electron while other element will accept it. Okay, so we'll just see what is an ionic solid. The solid in which constant particles are oppositely charged ions is called as ionic solid. Example: NaCl, that is sodium chloride; LiF, that is lithium fluoride; MgO, that is magnesium oxide; ZnS, that is zinc sulfate. Bonding is due to electrostatic force of attraction. Electrostatic force of attraction is attraction between oppositely charged particle. We'll take an example of sodium chloride, that is NaCl. As you know that sodium donates one electron, so it is Na plus 1. Chlorine accepts one electron, so this is Cl minus 1. So there is strong force of attraction between Na plus and Cl minus. Second point, they are hard and brittle. Due to attraction between oppositely particles, they are hard and they are brittle. Insulator in solid state means in solid state will not conduct electricity because there is strong force of attraction. But conductor in molten state, if you hit it, the force of attraction between NaCl will break. So the ions will be separate. So it will conduct electricity. And when you dissolve NaCl in water, it dissolves. So Na plus will be separate, Cl minus will be separate. So as ion will be separate, it will conduct electricity. They are soluble in polar solvent. Okay. So let us see the next one. What is meant by metallic solid? The solid in which constituent particles are oppositely charged metal ion in the sea of electron is called as metallic solid. Example: iron, gold, copper, etc. Okay, let us see what is meant by ionic solid. See, there I given a diagram. In the circle I have put the positive charge because metals are always positive, and there are small circles, that means there are electrons, and electrons freely can move in between. So it is called as sea of electron. First point, metallic bond between oppositely charged metal ions and the number of electrons within its pair of influence. They are hard and having high melting point and boiling point. Okay, let us see the third point, good conductor in solid and molten state. As you know that metals are always good conductor of electricity. They are malleable, ductile, and show metallic luster. Malleable means they can be easily beaten down into sheets. Ductile means they can be drawn into wires. Okay, now let us see the next one, that is covalent solid, and it is also called as network solid. The solid in which constituent particles are held together by covalent bond is called as covalent solid. The example you see, it's diamond, graphite, fullerene, SiO2, that is silicon dioxide, SiC, and ALN, that is aluminum nitride, etc. They are called a giant solid or network solid. Why it is called a giant solid or network solid? Further, when we will see the example of diamond, you will understand it. They are hard, brittle, and having high melting point. Next point, they are either good conductor of electricity or insulator. Means in case of graphite is good conductor of electricity, while diamond is an insulator. Okay, now you see diamond. As you know that diamond is made up of carbon, and what is the valency of carbon? Atomic number of carbon is 6, means its electronic configuration is 2 comma 4. So there is 4 electron in outermost shell, and as you know, to complete its octet it needs more 4 electron. So carbon can form 4 bond. So in diamond, a carbon forms 4 bond with another carbon. So same way that another carbon will form 4 bond. So the network will continue. So that's why we say it as giant network. It is a covalent crystalline solid. Second, it is the most precious crystal used in jewelries, and it is allotrope of carbon. You know that diamond is very precious and it is used in jewelries. All carbon atom in diamond are sp3 hybridized. In class 11th, you might have learned what is sp3 hybridized. That is, it is single bonded carbon, and the bonding is continuous in all direction. As already I have explained you, carbon forms 4 bond with 4 carbons, and that 4 carbons again it will form 4 bonds, and this network will continue. Okay, it is the hardest and high melting point. Diamond is the hardest substance found on earth. and it is having very high melting point. Its melting point I have given 3550 degree Celsius. And as you know that each carbon is bonded to another 4 carbons, so your electron is not free, and you know that electrons are needed to conduct electricity. So diamond cannot conduct electricity, so diamond is an insulator. Okay, now next one we'll see graphite. Now in graphite it is also an allotrope of carbon, but in this carbon forms 3 bond with another carbon. Again I am repeating it, carbon forms 3 bond with another carbon, so one electron is free. One electron is free, that means it will be good conductor of electricity. So graphite is a covalent solid and it's an allotrope of carbon. Second point, in graphite carbon atom is sp2 hybridized. Okay, because one electron is free. Each carbon is bonded with 3 other carbon atoms to form 6-member ring of carbon atom. The adjacent layer of carbon atoms are held by weak van der Waals force of attraction. It is very weak van der Waals force of attraction. So this layer slides on each other. So it makes it slippery. As you know, graphite is used in your pencils. So pencil you see it is very soft and slippery. Whether it's your lead pencil or the normal pencil, in that clay and graphite is used, and graphite gives it the slippery appearance. It is good conductor of electricity. Graphite is a good conductor of electricity, and it is used as lubricant because it is very smooth and soft. Okay. Next point, it is used in printing ribbons and in lead pencil. And last allotrope of carbon here is fullerene or buckball or Buckminster fullerene, and its formula is C60. Students, you might have seen the football. In football you see the way of teaching of football. There are 6-member rings and there are 5-member ring. If you just imagine the football, there are 5 members and 6-member rings. Okay, so there are C60 carbons. Okay, first the formula of fullerene is C60. It has soccer ball like structure. It consists 60 equidistant carbon atom. Okay, all carbon atoms are sp2 hybridized. It is observed in carbon soot. It forms K35C60 with K which act as superconductor. It reacts with transition metals to form catalyst. Transition metals means there is a d block elements. Fullerene and graphite is used in nanotubes. Okay, for summary I have made there one table: molecular solid, ionic solid, metallic solid and covalent solid. And they have mentioned, see, the constituent particles. In case of molecular solid there is molecules, in ionic solid there is ions, that is cations and anions, in metallic solid there is metal atom, in covalent solid it is non-metal atom. So you can go through, once you read it and you go through this chart, you will understand what is meant by molecular solid, what is an ionic solid, what is a metallic solid and what is covalent solid.